perspectives. So if you talk about 10 years time, then of course we're going into a world that's becoming more digital. A world that's also changing due to climate change. Well, and maybe people becoming even more sedentary, performing less physical activity. So I hope that Aikido in 10 years will be an even more important bridge for that. So it can connect people. So getting people out of their houses, out of the digital world, connecting people. Even though this society is becoming more complex, it can serve as a bridge for more people to stay connected, to stay physically active. So it becomes a way to communicate with each other, but also to stay healthy. That's actually what I would hope to see. That's a bit of an abstract answer, but that's what I think where Aikido has a lot of potential. Something like that.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much for that. Any other instructors like to share their viewpoint on that? That was Paul Kaysen, by the way, from Netherlands. But no one else?
Say something.
No, I'm just thinking, Brandon, because is the question about one's personal Aikido or Aikido in general? What is the?
You can rephrase the question to how you see fit. So if you feel you want to talk about your own personal Aikido, then that's you.
Well, the thing is that I really like Paul's answer because he really went into the future and the next 10 years and so. But for me, Aikido is a very personal thing. So I approach Aikido really from me, basically. So when I think about Aikido in 10 years, I'm not really sure how that's going to develop. I had no inkling of how it would develop the past 10 years. I don't think I have a clear idea on how it will happen the next 10 years. What I do know is, because it's such an important thing in my life, that I will be doing Aikido. And that for me is actually one of the more secure things about practicing Aikido. It's a steady place in my life. It's a soundboard at times. It's a place of meditation at times. It's a place of getting rid of excess energy at times. And it's a place of working on myself. So this is really a kind of maybe an egocentric approach, but I do Aikido for me first. And the whole structure around it is in a way is secondary. So it's a little bit double, because in a way the way we set up this whole event now, for instance, where we share everything, where we pull people together, it's great. I think this is a beautiful step that we're making all together. But the way I approach Aikido is really for myself. It's something that looks inward rather than outward.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, final call to any other instructors here.
Think Pia raised her hand.
Yeah.
Yes, I raised my hand according to instructions.
Thank you.
I think it can be personal, but I think if we treat our Aikido wisely, we can be in the forefront when it comes to physical activity. We have no competition, and I think everybody can actually get involved in this activity if we make it fun in the right way. And this is not like laughter, it's like to really connect to different children, youth, and adults, depending on us, more or less. When we study research nowadays on the body, the physical literacy movement, and connected to not being sports, I think Aikido can be a tool in the future to come, being an art, not a sport. And if we love our art, I love my art, that the traditional Aikido with Kenjo Taijutsu, as it is taught from Iwama and such sensei, if we really believe in it and really continue doing it, we can inspire and encourage the coming generations as well. But it depends on us on an individual level. So I think we will see dojos that will explode in activities and happiness and just continuation. And of course, it depends on these persons in these dojos.
Great. Thank you so much, Pierre. Thank you very much. And we had Louis also. Louis. It's not
Schumann.
there we go.
Hello, everybody. This is a really, first of all, it's really great to be here with all of you, and I really appreciate being a part of it. This question is really important due to the current decline in enrollment. Aikido dojos worldwide, even made worse by the pandemic. And we have such a wide variety of interpretations of Aikido and understanding and methodologies for training and the focus in each individual dojo. So in the next 10 years, I would hope that, you know, what I see there's about four major focuses that need to happen if we want to keep propagating Aikido. And first is that we need to have more attention on generating children's programs. And because if those aren't done, Aikido will die out as well as generating new teachers. But the other way that I see, and I agree, that since we're in more of a digital age, that hopefully teachers around the world will continue to develop programs as per their specialty in the health division, the health aspects of Aikido, kind of abstracting from the practice, both the physical and the mental health aspects, as well as what Pia Sensei referred to as the social connectivity. And so portions of Aikido target the audience and sell the health benefits. And I think there's a certain percentage of the population which is really hungry for that, and Aikido is a perfect vehicle for that. In addition to that, the teachers that focus on the spirituality and the philosophical underpinnings that give rise to this, to the esoteric part of the spirituality of both the non-dual state and the subtle anatomy of the body, and increasing that energy and consciousness for that global awareness of our unity. Particular need martial arts we're attracted to that as well, and that can be enhanced. And also having trained with Morihiro Saito Shihan extensively to keep solidifying the base of Takemusu Aiki as a traditional martial art, which is unique in its life-giving aspect, but still maintains its strong martial roots. So I don't think there's one single direction for Aikido to go. It's like a tree with many branches. And I think for the success of the art, each of those branches needs to become more full. And that's what I hope happens.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. I think that we really addressed that question. So the next question on my list is directed straight to Michael. There's a question here about your stretches session. You mentioned about where you got your stretches from. And can you kind of elaborate a bit more on that? And is there any other material that you're reading regarding to stretches, and where were your thoughts of stretches, basically?
We're talking about the second set, right?
The second set, yeah. The second set you just.
The first set we did is based on this Seitai work. So this is about loosening the body and kind of revitalizing the areas of the body. So kind of actually this also the work on the 6 directions and the 8 directions, actually the same kind of work in terms of the Seitai work, but approached a different kind of angle in terms of vitality and not in terms of functionality of the body. So the first set of exercises in terms of loosening the body comes from the Seitai work. And the second set is a kind of new set that we're kind of experimenting with that comes from what's known as foundation training. And actually, Lewis knows more about it than me. So I'll pass to Lewis. But actually, this trains a kind of a structure in the body and a way to use the body that fits, I think, kind of really well with the Aikido. And the other thing it trains is one thing that we need to do in terms of stretching and fitness is actually, it has a health benefit in terms of pain management, which is something I think we're kind of pretty poor at in general. So in terms of keeping the body fit and healthy, and in terms of longevity, this is I think is a really great set of exercises for that. But Lewis knows more about this foundation exercises. So,
Luis, is there anything to add at the moment, or do you think it's something is there something we can write and send out? What's your thoughts?
I think Michael explained it pretty well, and he demonstrated the class. I mean, he did it quite well. So I think basically if people are interested in resources for Seitai, which is a system that comes from Japan. And actually the founder of Seitai, I was aware of that when I was in Japan, and he was really the contemporary of our sensei. And he was a healer who basically developed a system of restoring the vitality. Seitai means body in balance, body in ordered body. Yeah, and he basically was a guy who was a natural healer. And then instead of healing people, he wanted to teach people how to heal themselves. And so he instituted this system, which is kind of incredible, actually. So I think the best thing that is for us to send resources, or we'll collect resources and send them to whoever's interested. The other system is the foundation training comes from a guy in California who was a chiropractic guy who was an athlete. And he basically had incredible injuries in his back, really something which was like, you're not going to train at all. And he managed to heal himself through these exercise system. And what it really did was he basically was aware that modern day life, through sitting and inactivity and a little bit what Pia was talking about and Lewis was just mentioning about, that basically the modern day life, the body is really designed for work and for movement and for activity, and modern day life is destroying the body. And so this guy basically really understood that it wasn't just about fixing something and living his life the same way, that he understood that his whole way of moving had shifted. And so he actually shifted all the emphasis back to the big muscles in the back, the legs and the gluteals, and rebalanced the body so that the power of the body was held where it had to be held, and the freedom in the chest and in the belly in the front was liberated instead of all being held in the front. And in doing this, he was able to free the chronic tension, which was the cause of his back issues. And then he developed a system. It's very interesting. At root, it's very simple. And then he's developed it all over the place. So again, it's actually fascinating because the root of the system is very easy to learn. So again, I won't go into it too much because it's too long. Yeah. Resources, we'll put it together, we'll send out whoever's interested, and these are things I think people should be aware of. And as Michael said, they're great at pain management, especially the foundation training. And I can attest to that because I've had lots of experience with that. So that's a little bit of that.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So we will, in this like after event newsletter that we're going to try and get together, we will try and get that information, some information, either a summary of it, and then where you can go and find that information.
Find out more about it. Yeah.
Definitely get that sorted out. Okay, great. On to our next question then. Are any of the instructors willing to share with us what they are working on in their Aikido personally at this moment in time? Okay. What are they working on in regards to Aikido in their personal time? Any instructors willing to share that? Have we got any hands? Carolina. Unmute.
Can you repeat the question? Can you repeat the question, because I couldn't hear it?
So regarding to Aikido, are you willing to share with us what you are working on with your Aikido at the moment?
Well, which part of Aikido?
It's for you to rephrase as you see fit.
Well, what I noticed, because I'm homebound and recently just working in the park if the weather is fine, and with distance, of course, there's a lot of creativity arising. Actually, we cannot connect, we cannot touch on a physical gross level, but we can play with the energetic practices. So props like chairs, for instance, like Lars did, using all kinds of stuff to find the principles that we are working with in Aikido, right? So proper distance, timing, balancing. For me, Aikido practice is also awareness practice. Okay, so if I'm off if I'm off in my mind, then I'm off in my body, and I'm off in my feelings. So what always helps me to go back to basic practice, bringing the body in front, right? So by bringing the body in attention, instead of staying in the mind, I go into the body, and I find ways into the body to change the mindset or the feeling set. So that is where mindfulness is also coming together in the Aikido practice. So we're facing a lot of challenges, and it's always good for me to see where I'm at, what is taking me off balance, and finding other ways to find within resource lane of myself. Okay, what is the resources, where are the gauges, how can I bring myself back into and then in a space of being where I can work again with, or being with that what I'm facing. So sometimes we're overwhelmed, right? Sometimes we can really get rising up out of it, and sometimes we can just disconnect, and then it's hard to work with that. But coming back to what is really concrete in the present moment, that is my anchor. And from my anchor point, I again look to what's opening in my awareness. And often it's the body, feeling the body, noticing the body, feeling the disbalance, and finding ways to come back to it. And that's Aikido too, right? So whether it is in relationship to myself or to others, or losing my job, or other kinds of situations, where am I? Where can I come back to? And from there, I connect again. So that would be my answer.
Thank you very much. And I think Pia put her hand up as well. Will you find Pia for me? Oh, I see her here.
You're really hard to hear. You're really hard to hear. Sorry.
I'm hard to hear. Sorry, it's me. Sorry, I was trying to not disturb you. Sorry, my bad. Sorry, yeah. So Pia's had a
In the dojo, we have the opportunity to have a lot of kids and teens and adults. We are a traditional dojo, and the challenge for the last decade for me personally has been to make Aikido ultra cool for the kids and teens. And to make it ultra cool, you have to have a plan, because it's not ultra cool just by that, because you have no competition, you are so kind, we are so, a little bit too soft and too whatever, too kind and too soft. And I think we are on the way of making it not ultra, but very cool. I would say we are very cool at the moment, I hope and I feel. So the process of learning to understand how to make that shift of being a boring, very old traditional martial art to a cool, up-to-date, state-of-the-art traditional Aikido dojo has been a lot of work, and I'm on that. And this is what drives me passionately forward at the moment. And just one small, I can talk about this for hours, but I will not. The key is not to block them and stop, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. It's just to keep going and do big movements. Instead of having one technique and stop and doing another the same technique after two is boring. I know this, tiny or whatever. You put 8 techniques in a row and call it kata number 10. And they love to do the 8 traditional forms, but in a row. It's ultra cool. So bring out the principles, but just make small shifts. We call it happy Aikido. Oh, it's cool. So this whole process of changing perspective and make our very traditional art into an ultra cool art is our focus at the moment. So the teens, when they become 15 and 16, they've been there for 10 years and do all the socializing, whatever we do, a lot of stuff. Oh, now I really want to learn the real Nikyu. I really want to understand the 5th Komitachi. I really want to do this real stuff. But it took us 10 years to come there. And these 10 years, this is what I've been investing some time into.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Does anybody? We have somebody. Oh, no, someone waiting in the room. Does anybody else want to add to anything so far? You can go back to a previous question, whatever. Anybody want to add? We've got quite a bit of time, so no. Have we got any more hands up for anything out there, guys? No. Very good. Okay. Great. Oh, is that somebody? No. Okay. Right. The next question then. It's I'm going to take it from someone's question and then adapt it slightly. When you're teaching in your dojo, do you have a set plan for it as you're going through, or do you teach based upon what you're working on? What is how do you feel it's the best for you? That is the kind of question I'm looking at here. So, do you find that you teach based upon a plan and a system, or do you teach based upon what you're training in? Just tell us about your teaching experience. We have Andrea.
Do you hear me?
Yes,
yep.
Yes.
I can't see myself.
We are spotlighting.
Okay.
Just spotlight it, Andrea.
There we go.
I know that. So yeah, I found that I usually end up thinking about what I want to teach while I'm driving my bicycle up to the dojo. So by the time I reach here, because I get fitter and fitter, I only have one thing in mind, and with which I want to start, and then usually from there I just take the lesson. If I had the experience that if I prepare a lesson too much, then it doesn't work, because then maybe I plan a lesson which is a bit more advanced, and then there's one complete beginner in the dojo, and then I have to change the idea anyway. But having said that, I started, I don't know, 7 years ago or something with children's classes. And there the first maybe 20 lessons, I really had to plan almost minute by minute, because otherwise I would have got lost. And now, since I'm a bit more experienced with this, I can go more and more with just the energy of the group, and especially with kids. If you have too much of a plan, it doesn't work. So if I feel they lose concentration, I have to change immediately and do a game, or do something else, or just make them quiet by maybe including a short meditation or something. And with this in mind, I also think I'm also trying to be a bit more playful in the teaching for the adults, with shifting and surprising them, and not just doing like the traditional thing. So often I also like to do like almost children's games with the adults as well, to loosen up a little bit and to get them a bit less stressed or tense.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anybody want to add on their viewpoint on on sort of teaching and how they structure a class? Anything? This is about kind of sharing our experiences with each other. So kind of important really now.
Paul raised his hand.
Sorry?
Paul raised his hand.
Yeah, sure.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so I really liked the answer that Andrea gave, because she said that when she was cycling, she also had all these ideas about what she wanted to do or did not want to do. I think teaching also in itself is a really creative process. So you can have like a theme in your head and then start teaching it and then adjust it while you're teaching it. Also to see if people get it or not. You have to make adjustments the whole time. So it's really like a creative process. That's how I kind of see it. So at the dojo in Weesp, together with Arjan, we have like this basic, well, a curriculum that we're following, because we want our students to prepare for certain exams, of course. But we're always flexible with that also. So it feels like yeah, like it's really free and really adjustable, as long as there's a bigger picture that also gets students to be prepared for their tests. So that's kind of how we do it in VASP, I think.
Great. Thank you very much, Paul. And I saw Lucy's hand as well. Did you see?
After Carolina.
Yeah, thank you.
Carolina.
Both teachers made great points that you have an idea ahead of time what you're going to teach, and you have curriculum for the dojo, and then you have the creative process. For me, I always find myself having to balance my responsibility to the students and responsibilities for myself. And I know from my own experience that the most alive class is one when it's really a passion of my creativity coming out in the moment. But I have to always keep an awareness that I don't let that my desire for my creative process to override the needs of the students. So I try to balance the two. And I always tell my students, sometimes I really inhabit the role of the teacher. And I'm really breaking down according to the student's needs. And that's a particular way of teaching. Other times, it's not like I'm embodying the role of the teacher in teaching the students, but it's more of me manifesting a way of presence and being, and the students being in that energetic field, even if it's a little difficult for them physically. The overall experience of the class and what happens for them internally changes. So, and sometimes I inhabit both of those roles in class, but for me they're kind of different. One is I'm like channeling the energy of it through the entire class. The other time it's very A, B, C, D, and I'm really working with the students on this point, this point, this point, and this point, and this point. And usually after we have a couple of classes like that, and then I revert back to the other way of teaching and let it be a much more spontaneous, creative process. And that's how I work. That's how I work it.
Thank you very much. And we've got, is it Carolina, Aaron? And Pia.
Yeah, Carolina, you wanted to say something?
Carolina first, please.
Yeah. I definitely recognize a lot with the other instructors. Sometimes you have to hold the space and see what's going on the mat and where people are. And those are entrances also, of course, to work on certain themes or movements or techniques. But there's also, always kind of afterward, I like the moments where I really don't know. Mm-hmm. I really am totally empty coming into the dojo and I don't know what I'm going to do. So when I'm going to sit down and just having a moment of meditation or quietness, I just be in the unknown, and there is always something coming up which is inspiring. And then again, it's very interesting. I always start with body practice, body awareness practice, and then see where that leads into. So there's almost like a humbleness, not knowing, and then seeing what's coming up. It's almost like what Louis Jumoville is doing, like channeling. I don't know these words properly, but it comes through me, and I'm following where it goes into. And sometimes I take charge, and sometimes I get myself surprised, also by seeing what's going on with the other people and sensing the other people. So it's not always tangible, and so that's what I want to share.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. We have Pia.
So I don't want to go deep into me as a teacher, as a dojo leader, because then I have a responsibility with Jan to help the students wherever they are, whatever they need. We have a lot of different. So with our experience, I think all of the teachers had a lot of experience. You can improvise and you can have a schedule. But what I want to express here is my experience with the children and adults while teaching children and youth classes. I believe in shared leadership. This is the most powerful way. If we do and trust our Budo, our Aikido, as something to in the coming decades, for coming generation, we have to give them Aikido as a tool of empowerment. Not just learning a technique. It's physical, it's technical. But this is about empowerment instead of sport and winning or losing. So I have a leadership program for my teenagers from 13 to 19, running through half a year, where they learn leadership abilities. And this includes teaching the children, usually together with an adult. So before each class, they have to meet half an hour before each class and set up that class together with the adult. 1 or 2 teenagers, young leaders, and the adult, and they have to cooperate. I encourage, it's hard for the adults to take a step back and not to be in the lead because I know I'm in power, I have whatever done. Take 2 or 5 step backs and give the youth the leadership, sit and bow in and give them empowerment. If we get them to be empowered and the leaders, then we have the dojo in the coming 10, 20 years.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much there. Yeah. Anybody else with their hands up that I may have missed? Looking, can't see anybody. No. Oh. Okay, great. Onto a question for Luis Bernardo de Quiros. Luis, they've been talking a lot about like the system of like this, the Takamushi system of sort of Saburi, then Awase, and then Kumutachi. Can you give us your experience and your insight on that system? And then if any other instructors want to add on or give their viewpoint on it as well, that would be great. So Luis, there we go.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Right, so can you give us your insight on the system, the weapon system that we have, where it goes from Saburi into Awase and so on, and how it ramps up and your view, anything you want to sort of talk about that basically?
Well, I mean, I think it's really a beautiful system. I mean, the first part is really what we've been doing the last few months, most of us, the solo work. And that's where you really work on the foundation of the body, the structure, and a little bit what I did today. So you can work on some basic principles of body structure and movement, taisabaki. And that's really the platform for the interactive work. So with the weapons, you go from basically the Saburi work, the kata work, and then you go to simple Awase work, which is where you really come to the most basic thing. I mean, Migi Awase is the most essential movement. 2 swords, 1 cut, be able to fuse your intention and feeling and movement with another person. And in a sense, that's the basis for everything that comes next, which is the Kumitachi and the Kumijo, where you're basically exploring strategy and you're exploring problems of Awase and you're exploring sort of like more application forms. Yeah, so it's in a way, it's a beautifully gradated system. And yeah, I think it was wonderful to learn it from such a clear teacher that we had in Japan. So I mean, my experience with it is that I love it. I mean, not much more to say, I think.
Great, thank you. Now, the reason why I asked that question is because I've received one question, which is very straight. It's very straight. It was like, it was just early on today, and it was, why does the Bokken Saburi during the strike have 3 steps in sequence, the shoulder, then the elbow, and then the rest? But then you could, I think about 4 different teachers have like mentioned it in lesson today already. So I kind of paraphrased and changed the question to kind of make it a bit more in depth. But that was the question I got, and I sort of hopefully the person that sent that question has had it taught about 4 times, and then also has had a bit of development on from that. Okay, great. So down to the final bit now of sharing any experiences, maybe like story time perhaps, because the questions are ended, and I wanted to leave 20 minutes for that. So obviously we've got teachers with vast years of experience. So either think of either a funny story when you've been teaching or studying Aikido yourself, or an experience that you've had with your previous teachers that has been one of the most memorable experience, and that you are willing to share with us. So I would like, if possible, for these 20 minutes, every instructor that we have in here, sort of that's been, the higher ranking instructors we have, to please share something, whether it be a memorable experience or a funny story of when they were teaching themselves, because I've got quite a few people here that are training and also teaching, and they might appreciate that funny story. Also, and just any story basically. We've got 20 minutes, so please, the floor is yours. Who wants to be first? You're going to say something, so let's go. Who's going to be first? Please don't make me pick. Andrea, please don't make me pick. She's shaking her head. Come on. Who wants to be first to share with us a story of their either studying through Aikido or maybe it's from teaching? Hi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Am I on?
Yeah, you're on. Yes.
All right. Okay. I got a funny story. It's actually, it was when I was Ushideshi in Fresno. There was a moment that Miles Kessler came to the dojo of Patrick Cassidy, and we were having some samurai game at a big park there, right there. And we had to pair up in camps, right? There was a camp Patrick, there was a camp of Miles. And I was in the camp of Miles. So the trick was, the game was to walk into Kamae and to how do you call it? Trick the other person to raise their bokken while ki-eyeing, and the first that was raising their bokken were off. Okay, so I could be in Kamae and I could focus on you, and when I come in and when I ki-eye and I'm not raising my bokken and you are first, then you're off. Okay, so this was kind of like a game. So playing with the intention, playing with the extension, playing with the connection, everything else, I found, I don't know how, I don't know why, but I was just emptying the camp of Patrick. It was like, wow, one after the other, and we're just cracking up. It's like how many people were just off all the time, raising their bokken all the time. So that really, even if it was a game and was really funny to see, I noticed the importance of really being present and just being with them, and just use your ki or whatever that raises up that first reaction. So that I found it very funny. It was kind of one, and the camp was off. That was my
Great.
story.
Thank you very much. Another story, please. Someone. Come on, get some hands raising, please. Who's not spoken? Roberto Palmer, perhaps, is there?
I think it's you, Brandon.
No. I'm the facilitator. We know the rules.
This guy always has good stories.
Ariane, you're being naughty.
Mm-hmm.
So who's going to? I don't want to pick on people. I'd rather have people say something. But I'm going to start going around different people then. Who's not spoken for a while? Ariane, please. Can I have a story, please?
Juan Nuance is here also. I just saw him coming. Okay, hi guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking, because my brain is a bit fried, so there's a lot of stuff jumping through my brain. Lots of nice memories, also stories that maybe you shouldn't tell. But one of the ones that has stayed with me, that's kind of iconic for me personally, is when I time ago, 25 years ago, when I was still single. I lived with my parents. I had a job, so I had all the free time, all the money in the world, and I was going quite often to Switzerland, to the Swiss people, to train there. And at that time, there was this one stretch in the summer holiday where they had this great seminar in Sweden or in Switzerland, where I went, and I was there with all my Swiss friends, and we had a great time. And then from Switzerland, after training a lot for a weekend, we all leaped into one car from Karsten, I think it was. And we kind of raced to the seminar in Denmark, the big seminar at Filse. And there the training just continued for the whole week. And we even skipped 1 or 2 nights, just partying at the night, training again in the morning, the kind of stuff that you can do when you're young. And it's just one of these experiences for a seminar that has not really been trumped since, because you're young, everything is new, the experience is, yeah, it was just a great experience. There's a lot of small memories attached to that big one.
Great, thank you very much, thank you very much. Right, where are we gonna go next? Oh, come on, where are we gonna go with? Did somebody, Jill, hi Jill, how you doing? Great, I see your hand, Jill.
Hi. Ohio gozaimasu. It's very early in the morning here.
Yeah, thank you.
I wanted to share a story. I wanted to share a story that might be useful for teachers starting out or students who are approaching the beginning of their teaching. And it goes back to when I was at that point in my Aikido, and Hitahiro Saito said, okay, you really need to start teaching. And I said, but I'm ashamed to start teaching because I will teach my students so many errors. And he said, that's okay. You just explain to them, I'm still a student and progressing and learning. Today I'll teach you what I know, and tomorrow I'll teach you what I know. And if that's different, that's because since yesterday I learned something new. And go on like this so that your students can appreciate that you're sharing with them what you have most recently acquired yourself through diligent practice. And I think this is a valuable philosophy for people starting out in teaching and also continuing to learn while teaching. That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Thank you.
And Hoa raised his hand.
Hoa?
Yeah.
Can you? I didn't know. Hi, Hoa. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yes, very good, sir.
Yes. Well, first, thank you to Andrea and the whole team and Louis and everybody for organizing this wonderful event where the whole world can get together through Aikido. And it's a beautiful concept. I really want to support it. Although we are really so busy here trying to get our life back together in the dojo. We just reopened. But I don't have. Well, I have some funny story, but I can't tell you the whole. I can't tell the whole world yet.
No.
Maybe I can tell some of you later. Yeah. As you know, my funny story would be a dame in Iwama, but maybe later on, if I have time, I'll tell you. But
okay.
I think it's important to. The most memorable experience would be like this time, like right now. Maybe in a few years, you think back and you think, oh, that was a special pandemic situation. But at the same time, we have the occasion or the opportunity to really look at our Aikido and see what it is. Have time to ponder on it and really appreciate a partner that we are missing right now. We don't have a partner. And of course, Aikido among martial arts really need a partner. But without a partner, you can do so many other things like all of you guys have done and re-examine yourself and the structure of Aikido. What is really Aikido? And that is a very important point. That's a very crucial point considering the discussion that you guys have been engaging in the past hour or so. And because there is a trend, as you know, Aikido was developed at a particular time and moment in history, and it went out to the world. It spread out, but also it's spanning so many years already, so many decades already. And so it's changing. Aikido is changing, and many of you has already mentioned the formula of success is to somehow adapt that Aikido to the changing world, changing mentality of people, changing environment, more communications, more technology like what we have right now. So adapting it and maybe adapting the principle to
to make it more interesting to people in the new kind of lifestyle. That is good. That, I mean, that's engage people. But at the same time, the important thing is to return to the source and find out what is really Aikido. So when are we going to drop off Aikido and do something else using just a principle of Aikido? Because you have to know exactly what Aikido is in order to know, okay, I'm going to get kind of on the margin of Aikido now because I'm going to apply some of the principles of Aikido and do something different that will be engaging to people, which is just fine. But at some point in time, it becomes not so much Aikido anymore, traditional Aikido, especially traditional Aikido Europe, TAE, very important thing to consider. And for all of us. And so this is a wonderful opportunity, like this time when we have to be homebound, to not just ponder, but through our body practice, really figure out what it is that is the core of Aikido that cannot be changed, that must be maintained. And some of you may decide, okay, I don't care too much about being too adaptable to life around me, but I want to really just maintain this core so well, like the purest kind of approach, just so that I can hand it on to somebody else who can do the same thing. And you know, you may have to kind of shelter yourself from the other influences of the evolving world that tend to make Aikido look and feel different. And so, but at the same time, you want to maintain a connection. You don't want to just be a purist and reject everything else. So that's we are at a very important threshold of that movement. Either be centered in the core, in the essence of the art, but at the same time, being able to be out there and engage other people. I think this is a very unique opportunity for us to kind of reset and find out what it is that we understand or we know about Aikido in order to continue. So it's a kind of a God-given time out so that we can do that.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for that. Anybody, was somebody else hand up? Ariane, did you see somebody else's hand up?
Yes, his hand up, yeah.
Yeah.
I will connect to what Hua Sensei said, and just another comment. A huge imprint in me was in Iwama. We had a class with Saito Sensei, and the next day Nemoto Sensei was teaching in the Budokan, and he was teaching exactly the same techniques as the night before in Iwama Dojo with Morihito Saito Sensei. And I was deeply impressed, and I really understood that you don't have to be scared of just copying if you do it with your heart for learning. And they understood the forms. We can do them all over and over again and make them cool, funny, happy, anything. They will work by just, and then I start writing down every class from Saito Sensei and all the teachers, because I know there's a secret in all the teaching. Exactly what they said, I copied and copied and copied for years and decades, and then I could develop. That's one part. The other one is with the pandemic. We have to be outdoors with the children classes. We could not touch each other, but we have to continue in being outdoors. So I bought a number of props, green ropes and a lot of different things. And I gathered the young leaders and I said, you have to do something with this. You have 1 hour to go. Please invent a lot of different classes and narratives and plays. We have to make it work. After 1 hour, we get so many things. I typed it all down, and we were on the whole outdoors activities. That's a totally different way, but it really worked.
Great, thank you again. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so that response there, yeah, answered another question we had from Jutta about how much did all the instructors coordinate their lessons for this seminar? And the answer to that is pretty much we haven't coordinated the lessons. It is definitely a case of everyone's just going to teach what they want to teach, and it will all come together. And I think what Pierre just said there about kind of having one person teaching something and then somebody teaching what is perceived to be the exact same thing, but the way it's put across, the timing of the changes, well, a lot of kind of things will definitely make a different experience, even though from the same thing. So that really answered that question. Great. So thank you for that. Right, we're coming towards the end of this session. I'd like to thank all the teachers that have spoken and also the ones that have not spoken, because sometimes saying nothing is just as good as saying something. So allowing other people to speak, allowing other people to think and digest things, it's also a fantastic thing. So thank you very much for everybody that's taken part. There has been 70, no, it's up to 80 now. There's 79 people in here, because I've got 2 devices, so I know there's at least at the most 79. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of all the organizers of this seminar, and we'll say it again tomorrow. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. Right for Play are going to get a nice donation, and people are also writing to me in the chat box with their own personal experiences of Aikido. I would like to encourage those that are not on the instructors panel. If you have any experience of Aikido that you feel has benefited you, just like that last question, then please, you can write to the host only, which is, and so we can collect those, and they will be saved, and we can collect those and put them together as part of the newsletter. Okay, so that's me done. Hope you enjoyed it. I really did. I'm going to hand back over to Andrea, and we will get ourselves moving on. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thanks very much, Brendan. And I would like to all just quickly switch on their microphone and give a huge clap, first of all, to Brendan for doing the facilitating of the question and answers. And then again, a huge clap for all the people who helped hosting. So it was during the day it was Ariane and Paul in the morning, and then Johnny, and then Brendan, and now again it will be Ariane and me, and next will be then Michael. So let's give a big hand.
Very good, very good.
Right, so now we have 15-minute break y después vamos en Argentina para Roberto Palma Sensei. So get some drink or relax, and then we will be back. Great, thanks.
Do you win a bit?
I'm going to watch that class.